Hello all. So I haven't made a video for ages and thought I'd just have a bit of a play about with the very much maligned and misunderstood Tamiya BT-01. So this is my BT-01 and it's got bearings in it, and I've changed the top of the uprights to have the metal ball rods, which removes a bit of the slop, but not a lot. I haven't shimmed anything on it, so it's pretty awful. And yeah, I think the thing people most complain about is that I've got some toe in at the rear here, but there's so much play in here I can actually go from toe in to toe out. I mean, there's a lot of play in there. Anyway, at the moment, if I can find, my room is in an absolute mess at the moment. I've just got this with a standard silver can at the moment. I'm running a KO Propo ESC, nothing fancy, standard silver can, and I've got it in rear wheel drive mode. So I've got front motor, rear drive, and that's the format it's in. But what I'm going to do is, I keep wondering if this car will end up being in Phil's Poor Boys RC Speed Challenge. And when you run in the non-open class, as it were, you can modify the car as long as it's using components you've typically bought off the shelf. And so if I was running this as a speed car, one of the most obvious things to do would be to make it four-wheel drive. And I think this car is pretty easy to make four-wheel drive. So I'm going to do that. And in the beginning of this video, I'm just going to give you an overview of what you need to do this. So if you've got an MB-01 car, you can take the front gearbox from that, and there is a direct space behind here. Because of the way you can have this front drive, rear drive, etc., there's just a big gap here for the gearbox. Anyway, so you need a few parts to do this, or you can strip down an MB-01. The parts you really need, let's try and do them in some kind of order. So you will need some of these, which is the MB-01C bag. And in here it's got some parts for connecting the drive of the front gearbox into the main gearbox that the motor's attached to. So you'll need one of those. So that's a SP1721. You will need the gearbox itself. So you'll need an MB-01 bag D, which is SP1722. So we need those two parts. You don't need all the parts from those. We're just going to take some clips from bag C. We're going to take the gearbox casing from bag D. You then need the gears differential itself, which is MB-01G bag, which is SP1723. So you need one of those. And that gives you the main parts to connect. You'll then need some gearbox joints. I'm using gearbox joints OP1477. So these are from the TT-02. Hopefully they will fit. You'll need a shaft to join the gearbox to the drive from the main motor. And that is a input shaft also from the MB-01. And I think that is 51486. That's the part I've got anyway, just to show you what that looks like. I think you need one of those. And then you'll also need a 2 by 11.8 millimeter sort of rod. I don't know what you call those. What would you call those? I don't know what you call those. Shafts, possibly. But anyway, these are 11.8 millimeters from the BT-01 or MB-01. So you'll need some of those. And then you can use TT-02, standard TT-02 universal shaft, drive shafts at the front, but I'm going to use the TT-01 universal shafts because I think they're a bit nicer. So these are OP792 and they are 39 millimeters long, I think. Anyway, those are the parts you need. So essentially we're going to pull off the front, we're going to build the gearbox, slide it in, add some drive shafts, put the front back on, and it then will be four-wheel drive. Anyway, sounds simple. Let's make it work. So here you can see I've removed the front, and you can see that there is this nice space for the gearbox to fit in. So I've just pulled off the front. It's a couple of screws underneath here which allow you to remove the front bumper, which you can now see over on the side there. And then you just remove that plastic casing with another 2 screws. And basically the car is ready to have the gearbox built and slide into that spot. I've just realized in my previous video about the parts you need, where I went through the sort of recipe list, if you will also need some bearings. So you'll need you'll need 2 1050 bearings, and then you'll also need 2 1280s, which are those bigger ones. Unfortunately, I'm probably going to have to break open this bag. I haven't got any 1280s lying about, which is slightly disappointing because I know as soon as I open that bag I'll use 2 of these and lose the other 5. Anyway, so yeah, now I'm going to just build up the gearbox and slot it in, but the front is off and we're ready to go there. So this is just a close-up of bag D, which is SP1722, which is the gear casing. And then you've got bag C, which you need the connecting parts from. And then basically you need the MB-01 manual, and this is the step 9 for building the diff. These are the diff parts, just separated and then put together as per the instruction manual. Next you have to put this into the case. So you get the case parts that you can see here and start pulling them together. And this again is from the MB-01 manual, steps 10, and eventually you will have this put together like so, adding the 1280 bearings to this, and we move on to step 11, which is putting the diff into the case, and then you should end up with something that looks like this image here. Next is basically step 13 but with a different chassis, so it's dropping it into the chassis. Then you need to take the drive shafts and the universal, and we just drop those into the front as seen here. So I've got a bit carried away with my build, but essentially you drop the MB-01 gearbox into that front slot. You align this connector with that gearbox. You have to put in a couple of extra TT-01 drive shafts, obviously, and then you screw it all back together, which is those 2 screws at the front from the beginning, and that should be that. So the proof of the pudding is to test it. So this is the BT-01 with the motor mounted at the front, ready to be four-wheel drive. There you go, folks. That is how it's done.